Hello there and welcome to today's vlog. Every time you join me for a few minutes in one of these vlogs, I am so grateful. Thank you very much. Now, I don't know if you've ever opened a book and you found in there inserted a little sheet that says erratum, and it's printed there as some corrections to the previous edition. Now, I need to begin today with an erratum. I said yesterday that during my college days I had a study trip to the Holy Land. Well, that was perfectly true, but I mistakenly said it was 3 months. Actually, it was 3 weeks, but it's still a fantastic time. I don't think I could have actually been away from my family for more than 3 weeks. So that's putting right something I said yesterday. And now I want to go back to a conversation that I had with Deacon Judith Ray a couple of days ago, a faith journey conversation. And you may remember, if you watched that I asked Judith what piece of advice would she want to pass on to someone who was a disciple, a follower of Jesus. And she said, really, I want to give a warning. And the warning was this, that you never retire in God's service. And she went on to say that those who say, I've done my bit, I've done enough, ought to think again. And I've been thinking about that. The reality is, isn't it, that sometimes when a person reaches the older years, they kind of struggle to find their place in life sometimes, or what is their role any longer. I remember a couple of years ago, a lady from one of my churches, as we were talking about older years, said that she had been really active in the life of the church. She'd done this and that. But now that as she was older and physically much weaker, she couldn't do all the things that she would love to do and used to love to do. And really she was saying, I feel a bit useless. I don't know what my role or my purpose is in the church anymore. And perhaps that's something that a number of older people feel. John Stott, who was a famous Bible teacher who died at the age of 90, said this: I knew I had to prepare for eternity, but no one told me I had to prepare for being old. Billy Graham, when he'd reached the age of 95, wrote this: all my life I was taught how to die as a Christian, but no one ever taught me how I ought to live in the years before I die. It's not easy. So two renowned godly Christian people who'd helped thousands of people in their faith journey, indeed people coming to faith, who taught the scriptures, who were deeply faithful men, and yet when they came to the older years of their life, kind of struggled with that and what it meant for their lives and ministries. What does the Bible say about this whole theme of age? Well, in Job we read, is not wisdom found among the aged? Does not long life bring understanding? And in a similar vein, from Proverbs, the glory of the young is their strength. The grey hair of experience is the splendour of the old. So there you are, the grey hair of experience. Someone told me when I was at ministerial training college that if you go into the ministry, one of two things will happen to you. Either you'll go grey or you'll go bald. Well, I went obviously down the grey route. So what those two passages tell us is that there's a kind of expectation that as one advances through the years, you'll accumulate a wisdom that can only come with age and experience. So there's that experience, that wisdom, that understanding that hopefully we gain through the years that we can use in God's service in some way. God says through the prophet Isaiah, I am your God and will take care of you when you are old and your hair is grey. I made you and will care for you. So God doesn't write us off when we reach a certain point. God doesn't say, oh, that person is past useful age. I don't need them anymore. No, God has this love for us that lasts our whole lifetime and indeed into eternity. And that's something that should encourage us. Listen to these words from the psalmist. The godly will flourish like palm trees and grow strong like the cedars of Lebanon. Even in old age, they will still produce fruit. They will remain vital and green. They will declare, the Lord is just, he is my rock. So there's that expectation of fruitfulness in whatever generation of our lives we find ourselves. That God still wants to use us in his service. And one of the aspects that the psalmist exclaims there is that one of the ways that we can serve God is through sharing our story of our experience of God's faithfulness. They will declare, the Lord is just, he is my rock. So we can look back on the years of our life, our times with God, our experience of God, and we can, in fact, we are called to share that story. I've loved doing these faith journey conversations with different people in recent weeks, because I believe firmly that every Christian has a story and every story is worth sharing. So we are called, as we accumulate wisdom and experience through life, to be willing and ready to pass that on to succeeding generations. Of course, our roles, our ministry may change over the years. We'll probably become less physically active. And perhaps one of the ways that we can use the experience and the wisdom that we've gained is to encourage those of following generations, to support those who are coming after us. That's just a vital role that we can play. And I know that in my life, I'm so grateful for older Christians who've supported me, who've encouraged me, who've taught me, who've imparted their wisdom to me. And that has been such a help. But are we passing that on to future generations? Philip Henry said, when you cannot do what you would, do what you can. And there are things that perhaps we enjoy doing, we love doing, we were fruitful in them, that as older years come, we can't do anymore. And we need to accept that and move on to something different. God has prepared us for lives of fruitfulness in every age of our lives. We never retire from his service. God never puts us on the scrap heap. One of the things that every older Christian can do that is so vital is to pray. And again, I have reason to be thankful, to thank God for those older Christians, those more mature Christians who through my life have prayed for me. One of those was my mum, who for years and years prayed every day for me in my life, in the ministry and in our family life. Every time I spoke to her, she'd tell me that she'd been praying for me. And I know that there were and are others who pray regularly for me. That has made incalculable difference. So we can all pray. If you pray, you're making a difference. You're changing things. So never feel there's nothing you can do. Whatever your age, God hasn't finished with you, and he never will. He doesn't have a scrap heap when we get to a certain age that we're dumped on. Let me finish with some words of St. Paul to the Corinthian church. Therefore, we do not lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. So may God bless you in your service for him. He loves you. He has a purpose for your life, and he wants you to bear fruit in his service. God bless.